Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babylon Irons video, the first one of the summer transfer window. And we're getting already, guys, replacements for Rice coming up. Obviously, he's expected to leave, and the biggest name right now, other than João Palhinha, who we've already covered, is Edson Alvarez of Ajax. It's been rumoured that he's going to be available for around 40 to 45 million. He's actually been linked with Dortmund quite heavily as well, and it looks like they're kind of in talks with him at the moment. And he was linked with Chelsea last year as well. So definitely a player in there. So just to start with, this is where the kind of news came from. It's since been confirmed by X as well on his Patreon. But Jacob Steinberg was reporting from The Guardian saying that we are looking to sign Edson Alvarez as a replacement for Rice, but they're hoping to sign him for less than 45 million. So talk to me about Alvarez, guys. You guys, he was on our Twitter thread, Mike, that you put together before this rumor even came out, as someone that we could potentially look to bring in this summer for the departing Rice. So talk to me about this man, Alvarez, and what kind of player he is, and yeah, just the qualities that he would bring to this West Ham side.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, before we get into Alvarez, I think we need to talk about when we're looking to replace Declan Rice. We've said it time and again, you need essentially two players to replace him. Alvarez would be one half of that replacement. You can't say go for Alvarez and Palhinha. It just does not work. The balance is completely off. It is not going to allow you to be a team that's going to be expansive. You can have some level of ball retention and so on, but it's not going to allow you to really kind of play between the lines as much as you want to, or be as creative in the final third. It's essentially going to set two defensive midfielders, and then you're going to have to, again, push Paqueta up into 10. And again, it just defies logic. If that is the thought process, that is mind-numbingly annoying. And that's me being very polite about it. But if we look at and talk about Edison, what he does bring is he is incredibly strong defensively. Not only is he incredibly strong defensively, he also has the ability to play in multiple positions, can play centre-back, can play in centre midfield, obviously playing that kind of defensive midfield role as well. It's a player that we looked at, I believe, probably 3 years ago now. I think he's been in at Ajax for 3 years, and we looked at him previously when he was a centre-back. We decided not to go for the deal. I'm pretty sure that's when Moyes was with us as well. We decided not to go for him. I think it's mainly because they had an inability in which to assess whether he was good enough, because he played in the Mexican league and weren't willing to take a gamble. Now we're in this position, which we've been in many times before, where we're now looking at a player that we looked at previously who was far, far cheaper, now looking at their premium price because we refused to take a chance and to take a punt. And the last thing on him really as well, the thing that we love about Declan Rice is how secure he is in possession. He will bring us that security in possession as well. He's not as dynamic in a running point of view, but he does like to make runs and so on. But in a nutshell, he covers off the defensive side massively. We will see that, but he will improve on what Rice has done for us defensively, because obviously Rice does less now, but he also improves us on from midfield. So yeah, that's my take. Go on, Sloth.
I mean, just in terms of like the kind of key aspects you notice from the off is that he is a big unit. He's a very strong unit as well. He's 6'2", and he's actually very quick. Like he's not rapid. He's not going to keep up with Aguerd, but he is going to give us a bit more pace, I think, than Declan Rice. He's got a bit more acceleration off the off. And he's also got a great range of passing. He's not looking to play it forward as much as Rice, but he is an excellent passer with the ball. So I think when we're looking at Alvarez, we're really looking at someone who has a lot of the qualities of Rice. He's maybe not going to be as complete. As Mike said, you would need the sort of yin to his yang, someone like a Seko Fofana who's going to break the lines and push forward and have that attacking mentality just to kind of counterbalance him. However, he is so, what's the word I'm looking for? He is so astute defensively, and he reads the game so well that our centre-backs are going to be able to carry the ball forward. Someone like Aguerd It's going to open up a lot of possibilities for him. And where he's got that bit more of dynamic passing range than someone like Alvarez, it's going to really create a lot of chance for him to spray those balls and find our wingers, which is something that with Bowen, potentially with someone like Barnes as well, or Ben Rama, which should bring us a lot of joy.
Well, let's just kind of look at both Rice and Alvarez in terms of how they've performed this season in their kind of respective leagues. So we'll start off with Declan Rice, obviously, as the base of what we're kind of judging it on. So, Mike, talk to me about this and what kind of attributes Declan Rice has, and then we'll look at what Alvarez has that is kind of, we can kind of see the similarities between the two players.
Yeah, so we've said all the time, right? Declan Rice is an incredibly well-rounded midfielder, especially this season. In the latter part of the season, his contribution to the attacking third has been so much more in terms of he's actually starting to bring goals. As you can see from the perspective of a midfielder and goal scoring, he's well above the average. He's basically up into the 90th percentile, or just below the 90th percentile of midfielders for goals scored in the top 5 divisions. That's quite a thing, considering this is a player that we have often lamented that doesn't get forward enough, and it hasn't been clinical. He's developed that in the latter stage of this season, which has been great to see. But it's something that we said that for him to be an elite player, he needs to develop, and he's starting to show that more. Obviously, you can see from a point of view as to what he does in possession. Again, he's by and large across every single metric, bar like those key passes and passes into the penalty area, he's well above average. He by far and away blows pretty much most midfielders out of the water. Now, any conversation that people say, well, he doesn't really do much, and they'll maybe say that his creativity is low because of that low point on that key passes. It's not. His creativity is not just about that final third piece. It's about, it does create a lot of openings, does create a lot of opportunities. Maybe doesn't actually assist as many goals as you would hope. But again, that's not the primary focus of his game. And obviously, when you're looking from a defensive side, he's maybe not engaging as much in duels as he used to, but his reading of the game is absolutely excellent, because his ability to intercept and to change possession through interceptions is, again, way above average. His ability to win aerial duels, again, is at that point where it's on that average line and just above. So, as we said, Declan Rice does essentially 2 roles. You know, he can be a goal scoring midfielder, as he's kind of shown this year in a way. His ability to essentially be the kind of the latest fad terms, he has the ability to be a controller, because he can kind of keep the ball, knit things together and so on. He's also a box-to-box player. So, again, he can do that. And then he's also a disruptor, because he can win possession, he can do things. So he's basically these 3 kind of key deployments that people talk about in midfield, all rolled into one. And that's the problem that we have. You're not, or it's very unlikely, unless you're willing to pay good money, maybe yes, you're willing to take an advantage of the international market, you're going to find players with those types of qualities, because there isn't really any of that in the Premier League. I know people have talked about McTominay, they've talked about Paulinho. They don't have a bit of all 3. They have maybe a very solid 1 section, maybe a bit of 2, and a tad of the other.
So what does Alvarez have then? Does he have elements of those three kind of key components you're talking about? Let's kind of look at his profile. Does he have that, or is it maybe 2 of 3, 1 of 3? What would need to be brought in with him? He's
certainly 2 of those aspects, from a midfield point of view, from his ability to retain, to keep possession going. As you can see, this is what he's done in the Eredivisie, and we've taken that data and we've compared that against those in the top 5 divisions. Now, there's probably, you would argue, going to be like a 10% flux in that, which would drop him down a bit across those metrics. But by and large, he's still, across a lot of those metrics, he will be well above average. Even if you deducted his outputs by 10%, he would still be well above that average. Again, look at the heat map. If you think back to what we had with the Declan Rice one, he is a fantastic screen. Obviously, Rice works more on that left. But what we see with Alvarez is he works amazingly across that horizontal line, whether that be just in front of that defence shielding, or whether it's just past that halfway line. He works much like Mascherano used to do. He works phenomenally across that horizontal lines. And again, as I say, if you look at his defensive stats, everything within there is either at the 50% mark, so the medium, or is above. The only thing that is below is the number of fouls he makes in a game. So that's important. He makes below average fouls for a player in his position. Everything else is to the expectation, which is one of them, and everything else is above average, even in the way he passes and holds possession. Now, he's not going to do what Declan Rice does in the top end of the field in terms of longer range shots and score from that, but he does bring a set piece quality to him, which is, again, he can bring goals because he's such a threat from set pieces. He does bring essentially a bit of everything of what Rice does because he can bring goals. Granted, not necessarily in open play, but he does in set pieces. He's fantastic in possession. He's maybe a little bit more reserved than Rice, but he's very secure. And that's something we know is often complained about with our fan base, from our manager, about midfield not being secure enough with the ball. Yeah. Slough said he's got a fantastic range. And then when you talk about defensively, he is dogged, determined, astute, calculated, however you want to kind of name it, he is. And again, that comes from being able to be a centre-back. And I think one of the things that, one of Slough's points was, what he'll allow people like Aged to do is obviously to step out the back line. His ability as well to collect the ball off the defence, drop into that back line, will also mean the things that we saw Sofiane Amrabat do, which was praised against us, if you're on a Tina game, is the things that he will do. He will allow that defence to split. It means you can push your fullbacks much higher, so you can be a bit more aggressive in terms of your starting positions in attack, because you're going to have effectively a back three, because he will slot into their receive possession and allow you then to kind of keep the team kind of spread, so then you can then look to spread the ball out. But
yeah, I mean, they do look very kind of, like you mentioned there, they are very similar in terms of, Rice as well, another one that started off as a centre-back. Alvarez can play centre-back. They're kind of that similar mould. And even looking at a visual like this, they're pretty similar. So obviously Alvarez in the pink, Rice in the kind of purple here. Alvarez actually has a little bit better statistics, but again, you have to have that leeway because of the league he's playing in. But
you also have to see he does play for Ajax. He is playing for a dominant team in the league that does play possession-based. So he is going to always have good metrics and measurements in that if he has a good level of a solid foundation. So yeah, we always have to caveat it slightly, but
just even like looking at the visual though, like the pattern is very similar. Like you can look at the actual details of what the percentiles are, but just looking at the graphic, they look very, very similar. So for me, as someone that hasn't watched Alvarez as much as you guys, it looks like that kind of, we're bringing in more of a 6 rather than an 8. And we're bringing in someone that's going to, like you mentioned, drop into that back three to collect the ball, tidy in possession, but also can play progressive passes and get us further up pitch. So, Slough, question for you. He's 25 years old. It's been rumoured that he's available for around 40 to 45 million. Would that be a good deal for you?
I think it's a great deal. I think there's a couple of aspects that you need to kind of look at as well with Alvarez. Obviously, the kind of key one is that he is coming from Ajax. So, financially, they are very strong. It's not like they need to sell. They will be willing to hold on to their players. So I think 40 million is a really fair price. The other element that when you look at it is you're not missing out on much. When you let Rice go, you do find that balance of his attacking threat. It comes in a different way, but he will still bring you goals. So it's not a massive loss in terms of overall game from Rice. But the aspect that I'm kind of interested in is the marketing side of things, and the kind of Central American, Latin American and South American markets are ones that we have very rarely kind of dipped our toe into, even as much as Sullivan has tried. It has the majority of times failed, and he is an incredibly popular player in Mexico, and this could really help in a business sense balance out that financially. So you look at the shirt sale aspect, and I think that's going to be a big part of this deal as well. It's going to help attract an international brand to the club, which we do tend to lack. And when you look at the sort of areas we're moving towards signing players from, I think that's a really interesting aspect to this deal that I don't think many people have spoken about. It is financially something that could really help balance it, even if he did struggle or took some time to find his feet. He's not going to lose a massive amount of money in terms of value, because he has got age on his side. He has got so much clear ability, but also he is still a very popular figure in Mexico. So I think there will be lots of clubs, regardless, who'd be willing to pay, a big chunk of money, maybe £15 million to get him back. But when you look at the money that could be brought in through shirt sales, sponsorships, all that kind of stuff, that in a market that the club have never really entered before, that is a huge boost.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it would be a good deal. On paper, we've looked at kind of the statistics and what he would bring. I know, Mike, you mentioned that it would need to be someone else coming in with someone like Alvarez, and Paulin is not necessarily the person we should be looking at, because they're kind of similar in terms of the defensive output, and we would need someone a bit more creative as an 8. So for you, Mike, I know Sloth said that he would think this would be a good deal for 45 million. Would you agree with that, just as a kind of ending point on this?
Yeah, I think it's a great deal. We're going to need someone who can operate along those horizontal lines and, defend, screen and so on. He will definitely do that, but he also is as a modern defensive midfielder, so he has that ability to play out. And if we get the right additional midfielder in there to go along with him and obviously Paqueta, then we have someone who can win possession and then set us off very quickly in transition, with two players that are obviously very adept at, carrying possession, which we know obviously Paqueta is. Obviously, we'd need another player who can do that as well. And to have that screen, that player that can work that horizontal, who can consistently play at a high tempo, is going to be a great thing for us, because it allows us to then be more adventurous, especially in those wing positions. My fear is that there is rumours that he is at the moment rejecting all advances bar Dortmund. He's only really interested in that deal. Obviously, they're going to come into a nice chunk of change very soon, as are we, potentially, if that deal obviously goes through from our side. So it's one of those ones that will be a fantastic deal for us. I think it's probably unlikely at this point because of interest from elsewhere. In an ideal world, Rice doesn't go and you bring in Alvarez and our midfield just shoots up exponentially. It will be an incredible midfield to have, even for a year, because that midfield will be, I would put it up there with anyone's in Europa League without a shadow of a doubt. So, and you would probably say it's probably going to be quite a leap this here. But if we were to say kept Rice because no one can agree a deal, and we were say to bring in someone of a standard of Alvarez, that would be better than Liverpool's current midfield. I say current because they have yet to buy Thuram, and they're yet to kind of bring in arguably another midfielder they want. Obviously, McAllister's quality, but we do know that Liverpool's midfield is aging and it's not as potent as it was. So it would be at this point better than theirs, and that's probably going to be the best midfield in Europa League.
I think another thing as well that is really quite interesting about potentially getting that pure 6 is that it allows you to get a different type of midfielder to balance it out. And whether that's someone like Alex Scott, or even, potentially...
we even had Guendouzi's been linked as well. That's an
example. Who's the young lad at Liverpool?
Curtis Jones.
Curtis Jones. So mind went completely blank then. But someone like Curtis Jones, who, with all this talent coming in, is he going to get first team football? That's the sort of thing that would really appeal to the club. Take him on loan, or, give him that playing time. And then a midfield 3 of Curtis Jones, Paqueta, and someone like Alvarez would be sensational.
Diouf, who we listed in our thread, who plays for Basel, is also named in the team of the year for the Conference League. He was on loan and is signing this summer. But again, there's no reason why they wouldn't look to make a quick turn of money on him, as they potentially will do with Zeki Anduani. I think that's his last name. Apologies if that is wrong.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. So again, you know, those are types of players again that you could look at who are going to be maybe on the cheaper side, but of very high quality and young as well. So they only would develop, and they are again far better than our last foray into the Swiss market. Which we all know didn't go very well.
Well, yeah, we'll hopefully I know you're saying it's kind of unlikely with Alvarez, and it probably is if Dortmund are looking to bring him in, and like you mentioned, Bellingham's pretty much out the door for him. So yeah, it'll be an interesting deal to keep an eye on. It looks like there's going to be a lot of rumours this summer and a lot of links because again, we need a lot of players and a lot of recruitment. So we're going to be making sure we break down every transfer rumour, every link possible, which we think would be beneficial to you guys. We might have a very busy summer, lads, so get ready. But yeah, I think it helps the fan base understand what kind of players we're bringing in. So yeah, that was good. Hopefully we have some more advancements with Alvarez then. It seems like an exciting deal that could potentially happen. Let us know in the comments if you'd be happy with it. Whether you think Paulinho would be a better option, let us know in the comments down below and we will reply as we always do. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new around here. And lads, one thing left to say.
Come on, you Irons.